Hello, welcome to the Wasting Time podcast. We are up to what we think is episode 123. Hello, Nick. How are you?
Yes, I'm good. Thank you, mate. Still a little bit in the Four Chord Festival hangover period. Was it 2 weeks? 2 weeks? 2 weeks now?
Yeah, just two weeks ago today, you and I would have left Pittsburgh after our amazing experience there.
Yeah, but I suppose there was like a few days of jet lag and then a normal weekend, full week at work, reality check.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
I guess we should touch on that briefly.
Yeah, we want to we'll not go into too much detail because, as listeners might expect, we'll have a whole bunch of material that's kind of dedicated to four chords that's going to be coming out over the coming weeks.
Special episode as well that we're going to do.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, we just want to. Obviously, it's the most recent thing we've done, and it was a huge moment for our podcast. And obviously, we want to shout out and thank Rishi Bal, who kind of initiated the whole thing, and the guy who makes the festival happen. I want to thank him for having us out there, which just feel ever indebted to him. So that was incredible. And then so many people, it's like new family we made out there, I feel. But we should also give a personal shout out to Adam Vallon, who runs the festival with Rishi, who you and I spoke to.
Head of the marketing side of things at the festival, and just an all round really good guy who's very easy to work with. And we did a lot of stuff out there with the bands that were playing. So Something Corporate, 4 Year Strong. So I mean, the list goes on, but that'll all be coming out over the next few days. But we've got loads of stuff on our Instagram already as well. Facebook accounts that you can see from the festival, short interviews that we've released, a bit of backstage kind of action, behind the scenes action. So just make sure you get over it and see some of the stuff we were doing out there. And you'll start to see more of that, I guess, like Chris says, over the next few weeks.
Absolutely.
Very exciting.
Yeah. But back to normal episodes. This is our first normal episode in a while. Like, obviously, with us being busy doing the festival stuff, it's we've had to I don't know, just prioritize that for the minute. So it's nice to get a traditional episode out, and we do have a few of those. Have a few booked in, and also some ones that are already recorded. So we have a few cool ones to come out. But I think, should we just jump into today's one now, Nick?
Yeah, we can do. Do you want to? I mean, yeah, go on. You lead us in.
Yeah. So I did this one solo. This is Nick Bailey I spoke to, who kind of was in Over It, who regular listeners will know Nick and I are huge fans of. So he played guitar in Over It with Peter Munters, and then they both went on to be in Runner. And then since then, Nick Bailey's really crafted out an amazing career as a songwriter, and that's kind of what he lives and breathes these days. So I just found his story so fascinating, and just up to how his life looks now. It makes for a really interesting listen, I think. So
and we've got, I guess it's worth mentioning, we have got Peter Munters lined up as well. We've got an episode to release in the not too distant future to follow up Nick's interview, where he did a special performance as well. So
he did. That was a really special one, which we've kind of had up our sleeve for a while. So look forward to getting that one out with our good friend Peter as well. But anyway, let's roll Nick's interview now. Sorry, I've had my microphone set as my speaker. That's what was going on. Sorry about that.
Producer problems.
Exactly. How's it going, man?
Here we are.
We made it.
Good morning from Nashville. Good afternoon in London.
Absolutely. So Nashville. So what are you 5? No, you'd be 6. Is that 6 out? Are you on Central Time?
Yes, Central Time. So
9 a.m. for you right now.
I was actually just in London with the family. I love it. It was incredible. I had the best time.
Yeah, dude, I saw from your Instagram. I was definitely wanted to ask you about that.
It was a family trip, but it was just we did a lot of touristy stuff, but I was blown away. Have you been to Borough Market?
Borough Market by London Bridge. I know it very well.
Have you been to Black Pig?
No, I know the one you mean, but no, not specifically.
10 out of 10, man. That place is so good. Oh my God. I had the best barbecue sandwich I've ever had, and I live in Nashville, where they say the barbecue's the best, and it's good here. But man, that sandwich at the Black and Borough Market was world class. I would recommend it to anyone. If you live in London, you gotta try it. It's unbelievable. And they have a veggie one that was fantastic as well.
Amazing. Better than Nashville. That's quite a statement.
It was just I like elevated flavors, like more gourmet, and the
Yeah.
black had that. It was like pulled pork, but it was like on a fresh ciabatta bread with like fresh grated Parmesan and a homemade salsa and like pepperoncini aioli and just these elevated Nashville is just like bun, barbecue, sauce. That's it. And fries, you know. I like get that. But man, yeah, London, I was very impressed with the food. Um, I thought it was really good. You also have that chain Pizza Pilgrims. I gotta give them a shout out because they're really
Yeah.
good.
Yeah, they're one of the better pizza chains in the city for sure.
Yeah.
Like started a few years ago, but yeah, that's very high quality Pizza Pilgrims for sure.
It's all around the different little zones. Like we were by Big Ben, County Hall area.
Yeah, I saw from your Instagram stories there were a lot of posts of sort of like Westminster Bridge and stuff, I think.
Yep, yep. And then we were in like Shoreditch area. We went to Carnaby. Is that right? Carnaby?
Do you mean Carnaby Street?
Carnaby Street. Yep.
Yeah, just near Oxford Circus.
Yep. Went to Hamley's OG toy store.
Of course.
Where else did we go? The Chiltern Firehouse. That was pretty good. Um, Man, I don't even know. We were all over the place. Notting Hill. Um, my wife wanted to do a casual stroll by Victoria and David Beckham's house,
So is
which
this this sounds like this might have been your the way you're talking about it, was this your first time in London?
it was surprisingly over. It never went to London. We only did Japan and like Mexico and Canada
Yeah.
and Hawaii. Well, that's still US, but yeah, we never went to Europe as a band.
I
Uh,
know, yeah. Well, that's something because I know Peter quite well now, so he's that's something that we've talked about. In fact, actually, before we get into this properly, let me introduce myself formally to you. As you know, I'm Chris, one of the Wasting Time podcast hosts. There was
yeah,
supposed to be a couple of us this afternoon, but my co-host he had childcare responsibilities that came up that he couldn't get out of, so I
I
was like,
know
hey, I'll
that
roll
game.
solo.
I know that game
Yeah. So how many kids do you have now?
too.
How young are they?
10. My daughter's 10 and my
Oh, right.
son's
Okay.
5. So it's beautiful chaos, as we like to say.
And yeah, it's cool because like I was keen to talk to you because like with me and my co-host who is also a Nick a long time over it fans. But I'm also I've got an eye on what you've been doing over the last few years, and I'm very keen to kind of get into that because you've carved out quite the kind of songwriting career over in Nashville, and it's
And
it's awesome to
I just
see.
love it. I'm obsessed with the work. That's really what it comes down to. So
Yeah,
every day is different. It's kind of all a creative blur.
yeah.
Um, it's kind of hard to look back as well. I don't even know. Sometimes I forget what I've done. I'm just thinking ahead, what's the next song.
That might be an interesting place to start. So, like your kind of sort of daily life in Nashville, kind of working as a full-time songwriter, like what's a typical day look like? Do you like have sessions going on most days? Like,
Yeah. So
how's
I'm
that work?
signed to a publishing company
Yeah,
called Prescription Songs, which is owned
yeah,
by Dr. Luke, who's one of my favorite songwriter producers of all time. Shout out, Luke.
nice.
Um, and yeah, so they help me get sessions set up and pitch my songs and help me with opportunities to just get my songs out there. But the typical day is get up and honestly, I kind of get right to work. Like I'll start editing a song from yesterday or
Yeah.
an idea for the day. This is my home kind of studio setup here. I wish I could show you all around, but my computer's set right there.
Okay.
Um, but yeah, so I kind of like vibe in here. And then my publisher has like some writing rooms at another spot in Nashville that I go to pretty often.
Yeah.
Um, and I'll go there and I have sessions fairly often, if not every day, just about. Um, and those typically start at like 11 a.m.
Yeah.
It's like a Nashville thing. You start at 11 and then the song's usually written or the idea is kind of handled by like the afternoon. And
Okay.
then I'll either do another session sometimes, like a double they call it, or
Yeah.
come back to the house and start working on that song or another song. And honestly, I love it so much. I kind of just work on songs until I can't keep my eyes open. I mean, I have a family, so I'll be like cooking dinners and taking care of the kids and the wife and stuff. But for the most part, like I'm either in here or I'm in a studio writing. And so my typical day is just working on music for a lot of the day.
Do you think you prefer this kind of setup compared to, say, if like Over It had continued on that trajectory, or Runner had like really blown up and that was still your full-time gig now? And you might have been in a position where you didn't have to tour as much as you did when you were younger, but do you think this kind of lifestyle within the music industry suits you more than being in a touring
Yes,
band?
yes, absolutely. I mean, I loved playing in a band and traveling with my friends, but it definitely has its uh, ups and downs. And this job now is a bit more, there's a bit more stability, I guess, of just like a schedule, and I'm not traveling as much. I can see the family more and
Yeah.
just kind of be in more of a routine. So personally, I love being in the studio way more than being on stage. Like my problem with playing in a band and touring is that you really only spend an hour of your day maybe on music because
Hmm.
you're traveling, you're checking the hotels, you're doing sound checks, you're doing meet and greets, there's just a lot of logistics. Really the only time you can play music is when you're on stage. Yeah, maybe that sound check. If you're extra ambitious, maybe you bring recording gear and you set up on the bus or at the
Yeah.
hotel and
Yeah,
you
of
work
course.
there, but it's still very limited. Whereas here, like as a songwriter, you can just work on music all day, day in,
Yeah.
day out, like for
Yeah.
way more time.
Yeah.
So I
Yeah.
enjoy spending my time in the studio more than on tour. But to each his own.
Yeah. No, but I understand that logic there.
What part of London are you?
On the outskirts, so I'm sort of 25 minutes southeast of Waterloo. I'm near a town called Kingston, which has a big music scene. So I'm in a place
Nice.
called Walton-on-Thames. So technically I'm out in Surrey, but you can be in central London within 30 minutes. So it's kind of,
Nice, nice. Yeah, I loved it. And the music history out there, so many great bands, so many
oh,
great
for
artists,
sure.
rock history. Yeah, I
Yeah.
was blown away. London, respect, man. You got my
Yeah.
heart.
It is a great city, and like I mean, it's nicer now that I live kind of in a sort of more sort of quieter area now. But I spent many years kind of like living in Shoreditch and stuff through my 20s and
Portage, yeah.
30s, and
It felt like Brooklyn or something. It was very like
yeah,
London was
yeah,
like a cleaner New York.
right, right, yeah. But yeah, no, it's a great city, and I've never really been able to completely pull myself away from it. What part of town were you staying in?
We were right by Big Ben
Oh,
at a
very central, yeah,
hotel. I guess County Hall was what the area was called, but
yeah.
it was right by Big Ben. And then we stayed with my wife, had some friends in Haggis Hag
Oh, do you mean Haggerston? So like
yeah,
just like not too far from Shoreditch, just a bit north of
exactly. Yeah, yeah,
Shoreditch.
yeah.
Yeah,
Yep.
Haggerston. Yeah, I used to live in Haggerston as well. That's yeah, it's a very kind of hip area these days.
Yeah, yeah. It felt very hipster, Brooklyn, New York
Yeah.
type vibe. Yeah. And now when I like write with artists or people from London, I'm like, let's just talk about London for a long time. Like I was just in with this artist, Baby. He sings for a band called Baby, but his brother is Fred again.
Oh, right. Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
Fred
Just
again.
just yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, di
His
di
brother,
different kind of genre to what I know, but I definitely know of Fred again. That's a big
his,
name.
his brother Benji has a band called Baby, which you might enjoy. They're pretty cool. They're from
Okay.
London. I just linked with him and we were working on some stuff. And then I wrote with this DJ named Sagala, who has a studio at Tile Yard. Are you familiar with Tile Yard?
I'm not sure I am. No.
Tile Yard's like a big like music industry thing in London. They have
Okay.
studios, like offices, like I think there's quite a few like artists and creatives there and seems like a pretty legit spot. I know a lot of different artists are in and out of there, but yeah, I don't know. It's just cool to like be able to like think of it now. Like I've been there and I know this place. Do you know this place?
Absolutely. Because I did wonder when I saw that you were posting little snippets of being in London if that was actually via work that you were out here. But
It could have been. I got
yeah,
offered to write and do some stuff, but
yeah,
unfortunately, it was just a family. No, I shouldn't say unfortunately, but I just didn't
no,
have time.
yeah,
It was
yeah.
a family trip, so maybe next time.
Like, because I remember who was it? Zach Savini. I remember having him on the podcast ages ago, and him talking
Nice.
about he'd been in London with.
Bring me the horizon, guys.
Yeah, exactly. I think he was doing a lot of stuff with Young Blood at the time. Maybe that was what was
Fire.
taking him
Yeah.
over this way.
I love that show, The Gentleman. You seen that
Oh,
on
right.
that?
I haven't. I mean, I know what it is, but I haven't watched it, and I didn't see the movie as well.
Pretty fire.
Okay, but in terms of like your songwriting work, does it like take you to many places often? Like, do you have to go out to LA for sessions as well?
Yeah, I do trips to LA. I have a songwriter friend who likes to go kind of crazy places and meet him there. So we go to Costa Rica
Oh, lovely. Okay.
every winter, like every year, just before the holidays.
Who,
And his
who's that friend? Is it anyone I would have heard of potentially?
name is All Day. He's a songwriter, but he's an incredible songwriter. One of my favorite songs. Voice is amazing. He's had a really good year. He co-wrote the Blink-182 song One More Time. He co-wrote Miley Cyrus Flowers.
Oh, amazing. Some
He
big
co-wrote,
hits there.
yeah, he's got like Bieber cuts, like some of my biggest songs I've done with him. Um, he's a fantastic songwriter. So
Oh, wow.
he makes me chase him around the world.
Yeah, it's not a bad thing to have to do, I suppose. Let's talk about like a couple of things that you've been involved with recently. An obvious one was that last Sum 41 single. You had a credit on that, I noticed. Yeah,
That was so fun, man.
and I see that was with a guy that I used to know actually, because I'm originally from a place called Brighton on the south coast,
Nice.
in the UK, and Sam Preston used to be in the band, and I saw he had a credit on that as well. So I don't know how
So
collaborative. Yeah, go on,
yes.
talk me through
So
it.
the story of the song. Yeah, so I have a lot of sessions with different writers set up, and I have a ton of ideas. That
Yeah,
particular day, I had a session with Sam and another Sam, and we actually wrote three ideas. When I'm with writers, when I'm with other songwriters, we'll typically write stuff to pitch. If I'm with
yeah,
an artist, I'm trying to write something for their project. But that day we were writing for pitch. We actually wrote three ideas that day. Dopamine was an idea I had before the session. It was like I had a guitar riff, the title, and the concept of like dopamine. You did it for the dopamine, but it didn't mean anything.
yeah,
So I liked the play on like dopamine and didn't mean.
yeah,
So I brought that kind of like chorus idea into that session, and they were like, "That's sick," and we wrote verses to it. Um, and then it was kind of like I just had it like in a folder of ideas of songs. It's like where are we gonna pitch this? We'll figure it out. Fast forward, I can't remember, maybe like a few months or possibly a year. I'm not sure. Songs are like dreams. I'm like, was that last
yeah.
night or 6 months ago?
Right.
But um, I had done some stuff on the new Story of the Year record with Colin Britton, a producer who produced the new Story of the Year. Fantastic
Hmm.
producer. I love Colin. So
Hmm.
we had done some stuff on Story of the Year, and he hit me up and was like, "Hey, I might do the new Song 41, and if I do, I want Derek to do some co-writing, and would you be interested?" And I was like, "Heck yeah, bro." So we got set up over Zoom, Derek and I, because Derek wanted to like meet everyone he might co-write with.
Yeah. So
And
had you not met Derek over the years in your band
no,
days or anything?
no, not really. No, there's a lot of like full circle moments now that have happened to me
Yeah.
through the writing career.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, I'd never actually met Derek. I mean, we'd seen some 41 around. I probably like passed him backstage in the past,
Sure. Sure.
but never actually met. So we jump on Zoom. We talked for about an hour about influences and our favorite punk bands and things like this. And he told me he's never really co-written before. He told me he wrote most of the Sum 41 stuff and
Hmm.
he's never co-written. And this was a new thing. that he was just kind of experimenting because Colin had told him, try this out. So I
Yeah.
was like, oh my gosh. Well, thank you, Derek, for taking the time to even talk to me. But
Yeah.
since he's never co-written, it made it a bit tricky because, it's kind of like tough to do that. I think you kind of gotta like let your guard down a little. You gotta, I don't know. It's kind of like, hey, nice to meet you. What do you think of this idea? It's kind of weird. Like it's dope,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
it's a bit different if you're not used to it. And so I didn't really want to be too like pushy like that. But I thought, we had a good conversation. We ended the Zoom and I had his number and I was texting him. So I was like, I think I'll send him some like half-baked ideas.
Yeah.
Um, so I had that dopamine idea and I stripped the verses that we had written. I moved the chorus to the beginning of the song and it
Hmm.
was just like a chorus basically and that guitar riff.
Yeah.
I'd been texting Derek different ideas, and dopamine was one of the ones he reacted to and was like, man, I really like this. There's something here. Um, I want to tweak it though. Like I want to change some lyrics and I want to write verses. So we got back on Zoom again, I think one time. We texted a bunch, we emailed a bunch. We tweaked the lyrics to the chorus a bit for his liking, and then we wrote a whole new like verses and story to how he kind of wanted it. Um,
Okay.
and then I sent him my Pro Tools session with the guitar and the vocal stuff because he liked some of the vocal stuff I'd done in the demo. And then he took it from there. He's actually like an amazing producer. Like he produced the record and mixed the whole record himself.
Wow.
So, and I'm pretty sure the song Dopamine was like the only song he really co-wrote on the whole thing. So I was like,
Yeah.
thank
Yeah.
you.
That's awesome. Yeah, I did have a sneaky look through when when that record came out, the credits of all the songs, and that was the only one that I kind of noticed that,
Yeah, so
had a few.
I think he had written a bunch that he liked, but that song just kind of like cut through.
Yeah.
So, that's kind of like my thing. If don't give me an artist number, man, I'll text them ideas till we get one. So yeah, I'm really stoked on how it turned out and
Yeah.
stoked to be a part of the project. I mean, yeah, the full circle moments are crazy for me. It's like Sum 41. I did a song with The Used. That was
Yeah,
another
I saw that.
similar situation where I sent a chorus to John Feldman and then he showed Bert. And then we got on the Zoom and kind of worked out like tweaks and different lyrics to it. And then they recorded it. And I was like, oh my gosh, I have a song with The Used
Yeah.
and Story of the Year as well. It's just like these are all bands that, over it would only dream of touring with or having that level of success. And now, years later, here I am like writing songs with them. It's incredible.
It's a really cool, as you say, full circle. And I suppose it's not just these legacy bands who are still relevant, but you've been doing there's the 408s. I mean, in this genre, I mean, at least because I know obviously you're doing other genres, but 408 who are kind of like the new generation of this kind of music. Did
Yeah.
the 408, and obviously that's linked with Feldman as well.
Yep.
What's your relationship with John Feldman like? How far does that go back?
Yeah. So I linked, it's funny actually. I emailed Feldman when I first moved to California with Over It. And he
Really?
emailed back and he was like, I'm interested. He had heard, we sent him Timing is Everything, I think. And he
Yes.
emailed back and he was like, I like you guys. I'd like to work on this. Let's talk more. And then I'm like, oh my gosh, yes, yes, yes. What can we do? And then we
Yeah.
just never heard from him again. And I think what happened was he was looking for a new artist to work on, and like
Yeah.
Over It was a maybe for him. But then he
Yeah.
linked Story of the Year, and then
And
they got
just
like
kind of
all of
went
his
with that.
attention, and deservingly so. I mean, they're an incredible band. So it never worked out then. But that
Yeah.
was almost like a little Easter egg to my future because once I signed with Prescription Songs and Dr. Luke, at one point they were like, "Hey, we set up a session for you to go work with John Feldman." I think this was in like 2016 or 17. And I was like,
Okay.
amazing. So I went to
Yeah.
his studio. At the time, he was in the Valley somewhere. He's in Calabasas now, but
Yeah.
he was a little closer to LA at the time. And that was when Zach Cervini was like in engineering or like his like understudy
Yeah.
basically. But we wrote a song that ended up getting used in like a soda or beer commercial, some sort of like commercial
Right.
in Europe. I don't even remember exactly what it was, but it was like a song got used in a commercial we wrote. And he was always like, "Yeah, man, I like you. You're cool." We kind of kept in touch. I
Yeah.
went back a few more times. I wrote a couple more times with him in studio. And then I just kept sending him songs and stuff. And then when I sent him that used idea for Fuck You, he was like, "Yeah, I really like this, man." And then when that song came together, he was like, "Hey, send me more songs." So I started doing that more. And so, yeah, I mean, my relationship really is I just send him songs, and once he likes, he'll plug in, or I sent him some 408 music, and he was like, "I
Yeah.
really like this band, you know?" And I was like, "Great, let's do it, you know?" And he was like, "I want to sign him to Big Noise." Or he was like, "I want to write a couple songs with him and see how the vibe is." So we went out there and we wrote with him for a day, and it was awesome. And he ordered us Haley Bieber smoothies from a famous LA place. And then
Okay.
he loved the band. And so at the end of the day, he was like, "Hey, you know, I got this label Big Noise and I'd like to sign you and see what happens." And they were just like, "Yes." And everyone was like, "Yes." And then we kind
Yeah.
of hit the ground running. We put out the first album about a month ago, and we're already
Yeah.
working on the next. Like my whole thing with the band was like, "All right, I want to work on songs with you. I helped you get signed to Feldy, but now I want to do the more like Doja Cat, like rapper mentality, or even country stuff's doing it, like with Hardy and Morgan Wallen, of like releasing constantly. Like,
Yeah.
let's release a song every 6 weeks or 2 months." And so we did that up to the album. Now the album
Yeah.
came out. Now we got the next song coming in a month
Yeah.
or next month. So we're kind of like just rolling them out, just trying to build the band and
Yeah.
hopefully something clicks. But yeah, my relationship with Felly is great. He's a huge hero of mine, and I'm always trying to send him great songs, great ideas.
It's interesting how things have kind of shifted that way with the, in terms of just having to have so much content. Like, so I feel like 408 have done that pretty consistently up to this point, ever since I've been aware of them. Like, I remember being aware of them in Magnolia Park like 3 or 4 years ago, and and
Yeah.
then they got to the point I almost couldn't keep up with the songs. There was just something new coming all the time. But that's, as you say, I guess that's something that's spread across genres, and it's
It
just,
is. It's a new kind of formula for
yeah,
building a brand is just consistently releasing cool songs. You just have a
yeah,
chance now. There's just so much music out there. It's really hard to cut through. Um, I mean, it can be done. Anything's possible.
yeah. But
You can,
the old model, like you would have done back in the day, like an album every 2 or 3 years or whatever, it just, I
yeah, I don't,
feel,
somehow that changed. I guess streaming changed that. I guess
yeah,
social media changed that. There's just so much going on now. You need a bit more of like ADD proof, like branding, you know, and to wait a year or two. I mean, I guess it can work still, but
yeah,
I don't know, you might have to be a bigger band or have more like social media following to do that.
yeah,
I
yeah.
just think every like model for success recently is a bit more like consistent release plan, and then a song goes viral and then elevates
Yeah.
everything.
Obviously, you alluded to other genres there, but you kind of you're working on so many songs these days, and it's kind of in so many different genres. Is there what non-punk songs, and there's obviously loads, have you done recently that you've been particularly excited by?
Yes, country stuff. I love working on country music. I feel like the
Yeah,
street holy with history here in Nashville.
yeah.
Um,
There was
um,
a song you did, yeah, recently that a country song I was really loving. Sorry, forgive me. I'm just because
oh
it's
no, all good.
yeah, that been there before. Yeah, Shaylin. Yeah,
Shaylin,
that
amazing
yeah,
new artist here in
yeah,
Nashville. Yeah, I've been there before. That was a really fun song to write. She's great. Yeah, she's actually playing Stagecoach next weekend, which is like a country
nice.
music festival, like rite of passage for new and big artists. But yeah, that was awesome. We did that like in the fall, I think, and then she released it in January. She's still up and coming. I mean, you never know with like newer artists what's going to happen, but you do your best, try and make the song amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that one was cool. I'm working on some stuff, trying to get on the next Bailey Zimmerman project. Bailey
Okay.
Zimmerman's an amazing newer country artist that's crushing it. Yeah, it's like a lot of new country artist stuff. But of course, I'm trying to get bigger ones too. I mean, Tim McGraw's making a record this year, and I'm gonna be swinging for that. Like, I would love to get
Nice.
there. That would be a dream come true.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the goal, the dream is hit songs, country,
Yeah.
alternative, top 40, all of it. Like, I grew up listening to the radio.
Yeah.
Over It was not necessarily a radio band, but
No. It,
once I kind of zoomed out more on the music industry and this whole
yeah.
game, like I realized like getting songs on the radio was something I really wanted to do.
Yeah.
Because I grew up listening to it and it's just it's honestly, it's the best way to like make money financially. I don't do this job for money, but I have to make money doing it, if that makes
Of
sense.
course.
So
Completely.
writing songs on the
Completely.
radio is the best way to get paid, and it's also the
Exactly.
most exciting thing as a songwriter to have songs on the radio. So
Yeah. Yeah.
that's always
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
goal. So yeah, country is like a format that I'm very focused on, as well as alternative and top 40. So I kind of like mix it up depending on who I'm with that day or what the idea I have is. I'll kind of decide where does this go.
And it's interesting you saying like the music you grew up on and stuff, listen to the radio. In fact, can I just like touch upon the Over It years a little bit? I mean,
Absolutely.
we don't have to go into it in full detail. I had Peter on the show before, and I've kind of been over this a lot, but it'd be nice to kind of hear things kind of from your angle and just like how your experience has kind of been like over it being a thing and how that's led you to where you are now. But so for forming over it, you guys remind me how old you guys were when you formed over it in Virginia, I guess, originally, right?
Yeah, we were in high school.
Yeah.
The story was a bit of a broken road at first. It was originally started by my friend Joe, who passed away when we were in high
Yeah.
school, very
Yeah.
tragically. But Joe, it was like me, Joe, Seth, and James was like the first kind of, well, I think the very first idea of Over It was me, Seth, and Joe. And then we recruited
Okay.
James to play drums.
Yep.
Joe kind of like had the name. There's like a famous picture I have. I wish I had it now. It's in my garage, but it's hanging up in my garage. I have a skate ramp in my garage where I kind
Oh,
of hang.
really?
Um,
Amazing.
the picture of Joe kind of like sitting like this, smiling with an Over It hat. He had made an Over It hat, like the first one ever. And so we named the band then, and we started like writing songs on his little 8 track. And like we played a show in my basement for some friends. And Joe was very driven, very focused on writing songs and performing, and you could just tell he was going places with music. He even like got in touch with a booking guy and booked us our first show that we weren't able to play, sadly. But coincidentally, that booking guy was a guy named Keith, who over it then went on to play a lot of shows for, and he then became All Time Low's manager.
Okay. Yeah.
It's like a very small world. But then
Yeah.
so Joe passed away. It kind of took the wind of our out of our sails a couple of years.
Of
Then we
course. Yeah.
reformed as a three-piece, and Seth was singing. It was me, Seth, and James as a three-piece. And then Peter was in another band. And we always liked his voice, and we thought maybe we could like combine forces. And so I asked Peter, "Would you want to write some songs and see what happens?" And he said yes. So then we wrote some songs with Peter and made like we went and recorded them in like I think it was like 99, 98, 99.
Yeah.
We went and recorded them with this guy who had done some tooth and nail stuff for like MXPX and this band Goaty Hook that was like
Oh,
a
yeah.
low
Yeah. Go to
band.
Hook. Yeah. Yeah.
They were from Maryland. We were in Virginia. So we went and recorded like 5 songs with this guy, and we made demo tapes. I just started mailing them. I think I mailed it to like Fearless Records, Equal Vision Records. Where else did I send it? A few places, and I sent it to Negative Progression Records just randomly. I forget how I found them, but he was the only one that wrote back. I think Fearless wrote back with like a letter that was like it was like all these options, and it was just like
Okay.
not signing bands at this time was the
Yeah.
option.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
But the guy who ran Negative Progression wrote back and was like, I really like this, and I'd like to put it out if that's cool. And we were like, okay. and that became the first EP, the very first Over It EP. And then, wow, what happened then? Like we played a lot of shows regionally. I remember like always like trying to book us shows, like calling promoters. I mean, this is before social media, really.
Of
So I
course.
think like emailing, but I was like calling a lot of like venues
Yeah.
and who's the promoter? Who booked this? I see you have a show coming up in a month with so and so. Like, can we open? I think we got like a couple opportunities that way.
Yeah.
And then we made an album after that. Negative Progression paid for us to make an album, the Ready series. We recorded that in like 2000, I think. I was a senior in high school, or maybe, or
Hmm.
no, maybe junior. I can't remember, man. It's kind of blurry. It was all early 2000s. Then
Yeah.
from that, I believe I mailed that record to Steve at Lobster Records.
Yeah.
He said, I'll do a record for you guys, but he was like, if you sign here, you have to move to California.
Yeah.
So I think we all like debated that a little while and tried to figure out what to do, but then ultimately did that. And we moved to California in like 2004.
Okay.
And then shortly after that, we got taken under Yellow Card's wing and they started to
Yeah.
blow up and they put us on a lot of shows and we just had a good relationship with them. They helped us a lot, honestly, for years.
Yeah. I first saw you guys in 2004, I think it was. Saw
Where
you're
was
on
that?
it
For?
was in
Like,
San Francisco randomly.
nice. Bottom of the hill?
Yeah, it was Alistair, maybe hidden in plain view. Never
Wow.
heard of it. I remember on that as well. I think it was like a Sunday afternoon show with a barbecue or something. It was good.
Oh
It was
my
fun.
gosh, that's awesome, man. Yeah, I mean, we had some cool stuff. I mean, Corey Christopher was our booking agent, and she was at the time, and she was doing Yellow Card, and now she's a massive booking agent. I don't know if she books like Imagine Dragons and Rise Against,
Yeah. Yeah,
and
I've heard of her.
I believe she books Benson Boone, who's got like the biggest song in the world right now. But yeah, so she got us on a lot of good shows. I think she helped us get on that tour. Yeah, I mean, looking back, we did some great tours and stuff.
What were some of your favorite ones?
The MXPX Reliant K tour, that was incredible.
That's awesome.
We did a Good Charlotte tour that was amazing. Joel and Benji were always really nice to us. They actually wanted to sign us as
Yeah,
well. We
yeah,
were
I
one.
remember. I think Peter told me once, like, and this was around timing is everything, like Joel Madden calling you guys out of the blue or
Dude, I
something,
used to
something like
talk.
that.
He would call me and we would talk for like an hour, and like several times. And we had
Really?
just moved to California, and like this new band, and my phone's lighting up with Joel Madden. I'm like, this is sick.
Yeah.
But he wanted to sign us, and we were like, we couldn't do it because we were like locked in, with like
Yeah.
the whole lobster thing.
Yeah.
Um, and so, yeah, but they put us on some shows, so that was awesome. And then we did a tour with Goo Goo Dolls, which was incredible. We got to
Yeah,
open
that
for
was after the being on Virgin, wasn't it? After
our manager at the time worked for Pat Magnarella, who managed
yeah,
Green Day, Weezer, and Goo Goo Dolls.
yeah.
And they put us out with Goo Goo Dolls, and it was freaking awesome.
Yeah, that must have been surreal.
Crazy, bro. I have some
Yeah,
crazy memories from that tour,
I can imagine.
including the French caterers that were incredible. We had the best catering on that tour. And then also one night we played Baltimore, Maryland, and I'm sitting backstage, and Johnny Resnick and Robbie, the bass player, come off stage down the hallway past our dressing room, and I was the only one in there, and they get in a huge fight because they had like technical issues, and I don't know who it was like, that's why we sound check. And the other guy's like, I didn't want to sound check, it sounded like shit. Da, da, da. And they were just yelling and cussing, and like it was crazy, like a
Whoa,
crazy fight. And I'm just sitting there like, oh my God. Like
where am I?
saw me sitting there, but they just kept going at it. But then later that night, their security guard was like, "Hey, I know you saw that earlier. They want you to come back to their dressing room." And I was like, "Oh, am I in trouble for like witnessing a crime?" Like,
Yeah, yeah,
and then they were just like, "Man, sorry you had to see." Johnny was like sitting there smoking a cigarette. Like, "I'm sorry you had to see that, man." He's like, "Robbie and I, we're like an old married couple. We've been doing this so long. Sometimes we fight, but we always kiss and make up." And
yeah,
I was just, "Man, it's cool. All good. I'm just happy to be here. You're the Goo Goo
yeah.
Dolls."
What's your favorite of all the albums that Over It did?
Wow. Um, Tough question. I mean, Timing is Everything was a vibe. Like Peter and I wrote all those songs in my parents' basement in Virginia and then flew out to California to record them with Cameron Webb. That was an awesome
Mhm.
experience. We did it in Ojai at a studio that like No Motive had done their album at, and probably a lot of other great bands too. But
Mm.
that was a really cool experience. And we were living while we did that. We stayed at Steve's from Lobster's apartment in
Okay.
Carpinteria. Um, so that was like a fun experience, just being in like the Santa Barbara world doing that record. But then Silver Strand was awesome to make too, because we were living out there, living in Ventura. Then we moved to North Hollywood. We stayed at Mike Green's studio, somewhat homeless, but like having a lot of fun, making songs. The word was getting more out about our band. We're getting more shows, more fans. I think after we made that record was when like my phone really started lighting up. I mean, I was getting calls from like John Janik at Fueled by Ramen, like the guys at Hurley who sponsored us. They were like, dude,
Yeah.
this record is so good, man. You guys are gonna get hit up a lot. I think some like majors hit us at that time.
Yeah.
Uh, and then yeah, we kind of found ourselves getting like hit up by a lot of labels and trying to figure out what to do next. Step outside yourself was cool. To be honest, looking back, I wish I knew now, like I wish I knew then what I know now because we never really co-wrote. We never collaborated with anyone. It was always just like me and Peter, like, we need 12 songs. Let's write them. Here's 12 songs. There they
Mm.
are. When now I'm kind of like, dude, we could have written 100, picked the best 10. We could have collaborated with a lot of people and tried different things, you know?
Yeah.
Um, we worked with Mike Green on those two records, and, you know, I like Mike, but I just think we should have really experimented more because there's just so many possibilities.
Yeah. And so do you feel the quality of that record suffered because of that? Not saying that it's a bad record, but you just feel like if there was,
I think it was a bit of misdirection because
yeah,
you started out as a punk band influenced by Fat Records and Epitaph Records.
yeah,
And then we signed to a major label, and there was a bit of pressure of like, you guys got to get a song on the radio and be more commercial. So it was like, okay, how do we do that? And I just think that record we made, it wasn't like, I don't know, it just didn't really fit enough into like a lane, you know, it was like too poppy for rock radio, but too rock for top 40 pop radio. It
yeah,
wasn't really punk rock, but it wasn't really rock either. I don't know. It was just
okay,
kind of like I don't know the best word. It was like a hybrid pop rock album, but
yeah,
I just don't think it like filled the right space. I don't know. Something about it. It was, I mean, I enjoy it. I have no regrets, but it was just like looking back, I think we could have done a better job, like with different songs, writing songs and whatnot, you know?
So you don't necessarily, it wasn't necessarily that you felt like that at the time. It's more just kind of retrospectively.
Yeah. Like at the time it was fun. I mean, we gave it our all. We did some cool stuff, but I just think we could have collaborated more. Like honestly, all those bands, those cool bands we toured with, like I have the songwriting bug and like the producer bug now. Like I'll pull up
Mm.
to a backstage with like a portable setup and write a song and record it. And I wish I was doing that then because
Yeah,
all those bands we're on tour with, it would have been so cool if I had just like rolled to their dressing room with an acoustic guitar and be like, hey, would you guys want to write a song? Or like, I have this idea for a song. Like, what do y'all
yeah,
think? Like
yeah,
if he'd written with Yellow Card or if I had played an idea for Johnny Resnick that maybe he liked and finished with us, or if
yeah,
we, I don't know. It's like I don't want to go down the rabbit hole of like woulda, shoulda, coulda, but
yeah,
I just think it would have been so interesting to see the kind of songs we would have made if we had songwriting on our brain more. I just didn't realize it was such a thing in such a world. And now that I in this mix, the songs are the most important thing. Like you definitely need to brand it, you need to go on tour, you need to market it and promote it properly. But if you make the right music, a lot of those things will come to you. You don't need to do as much work to like go get a tour or go get fans or whatever, because if you make the right music, it kind of all floats to you. And we
Yeah,
learned that a bit more with Runner Runner because though
sure.
Over It was a great experience, when we wrote songs for with Runner Runner, it was more of the intention, like let's make songs that could potentially end up on the radio,
Absolutely.
that, could
Yeah.
potentially be like more of a chance with different tours. And then as a result, it reacted more. Like Runner Runner reacted more than Over It did. I think it's because we had the intention from the get-go of the songs being a bit more like,
Yeah, I mean that was how do you kind of look back on the runner period? How do you
it was fun. Good. Again, similar thing. I wish we had written more. Like we kind of wrote with ourselves. We dabbled more in like the collaboration with that project, but
yeah.
not, and we didn't make enough songs. I mean, I didn't really know of this songwriting world and that it existed until like the Runner Runner album was out, and like, you know what I mean? Like my first trip to Nashville was when on tour with Runner Runner, and our
Hmm.
album was out, and we met a songwriter who did a bunch of like Rascal Flatts stuff. And I remember going to his house, and his kids were running in the yard, and we go into his house, and he's got all these Rascal Flatts plaques on his wall in like his studio room. And I was like, you can do this? Like, you can write songs for other artists and just like be a songwriter and
Yeah.
like buy a house and like pay for a family. Like it just blew my mind. I
Was
had
was
no,
that kind of the moment for
it
you where you
was.
just
It was a
okay?
turning point. And then I
Yeah.
started co-writing more, and then I really caught the bug and like got obsessed with being in the studio and like working on songs. But now that I'm like obsessed with this and like I watch all these documentaries of all kinds of bands from the Beatles to whatever, Youngblood or Kid Laroi,
Hmm.
there's a lot of collaboration behind the scenes. There's a lot of like creatives and songwriters and producers in the mix. And a lot of it, even like here in Nashville, I mean, there's a famous story that I didn't even know. Willie Nelson wrote Crazy for Patsy Cline, which is one of my all-time favorite songs.
Hmm.
I had no idea. And there's a documentary where he's like, yeah, I'm sitting in a bar called Tootsie's, which is a famous Nashville bar, drinking. And this guy is sitting next to me, like, hey, you know, play me a song that you did recently you love, or what have you been making? Like, let me hear something. So Willie Nelson tells this story. He goes out to his car, puts an 8-track demo of Crazy that he had
Yeah.
recently made. And this guy is like, this song's incredible. And like, I happen to be dating Patsy Cline, and I think I could hear her singing this. We should go play this for her. And Willie Nelson's like, are you kidding me, bro? We're drunk. It's midnight on a Tuesday. Like, I'm just playing you a demo I just made. Like, no way, because Patsy Cline was like a big artist at the time.
Yeah.
And the
Yeah.
guy's like,
Yeah.
no, no, no. Let's go over there right now. So the story goes, they pull up there at like 12 or 1 in the morning, and Willie Nelson didn't want to go in to wake her up. So he sits in the driveway. This guy goes in the house, wakes her up. Patsy Cline comes out and is like, oh, I guess I got to hear this song now. And then she goes and records it shortly after, and it's crazy. That's a evergreen. That song is a classic copyright. That song will be valuable and amazing until the end of time. And so I just thought that story was so fascinating. Like, wow.
Yeah.
And like the fact that people don't write their songs sometimes, or they get an idea and then like tweak it to make it their own. I just think that's so cool. And I just didn't know that.
Yeah.
Some people get a little funny about it. They're like, what? My favorite artist didn't write the song? Like, how could that be? And it's like, well, think about your favorite movie. Did Brad Pitt write
It's
the
yeah.
movie? No, like he's just an actor.
Like there's a famous kind of presenter broadcaster in the UK called Danny Baker, and like he was saying something like, he writes a lot of comedy for famous comedians. He's writing stuff for like Rick Gervais, whoever, and like he says, like his wife sometimes goes, well, that's it's crazy, and you don't get the credit. But he's like, yeah, but think of your favorite movie. Can you tell me who wrote the screenplay for it?
Nobody knows that. Yeah.
Exactly.
It's
Yeah. No.
very similar, but I think with music, it's a bit more personal, I guess, because
Yeah.
I don't know, somehow it's a bit more personal. So, yeah, some people I think are still a little like bummed on that. like it should be the artist in their bedroom writing it, but I don't know. If you look back at history and all the great music, there's just so much collaboration and so many stories of
Yeah.
someone behind the scenes that made the song and then got it to the artist, and then the rest is
Yeah.
history. So it's like, I don't know. I'm fascinated by
Yeah, I
that.
find
Like,
this stuff fascinating as well. So had you kind of, so once you had that kind of, you know, penny drop moment, did you kind of like really throw yourself into the possibilities of songwriting stuff? And was this still when what Runner Runner was technically
yeah, so
a
so
band
after
still?
that, yeah, after that Nashville trip, there was another guy. Our Runner Runner was sponsored by Macbeth, which was Tom from Blink's shoe
Of
company.
course. Yeah.
So we did some events for them. Actually, funny story. I remember playing Runner Runner played a Macbeth event down in San Diego, and Tom comes up to us with his kid on his shoulders, who was probably like, I don't know, between 5 and 10 years old. He was like, "Hey guys, thanks for playing this. Like Jimmy says such great stuff about you. Like I appreciate you taking the time to play this for us, and I'll be back later to check out your dicks." And like walks away. It's just like, of course, Tom DeLonge says that. Like,
That's a
so
very Tom DeLonge thing to say.
but yeah, so Jimmy, who ran Macbeth for Tom, he actually is one of Blake's managers now, and he also manages Pierce the Veil. But Jimmy had managed this girl named Tori, and he was like, "Hey, I got this girl that sounds kind of like Katy Perry. Would you want to write a song with her?" And I was like, "Yeah."
Yeah.
I was just off the Nashville trip. I was like, "Yeah, I'm trying to write more songs. Like, I want to do anything." So I
Yeah.
write a song with her, and it's called "Young, Wild, and Free." And it was before the Bruno Mars Wiz Khalifa "Young, Wild, and Free." And I remember making a little like demo of it and sending it to my friend Rohan, who worked at Absolute Punk at the time, or maybe
Oh yeah.
he worked at Crush Management, which was like Fall Out Boy and like,
Yeah, and I know Scott Nagelberg's Crush Management as well.
so Rohan worked there in New York. And I was like, maybe if I sent it to him, I don't know, something. So he called me and was like, dude, I like this song. There's something to it. You mind if I share it with some A&Rs that I know and some New York people? And I was like, sure.
Yeah.
Next thing I know, my phone's lighting up, but with A&R people calling me like, I love this song, like I want this new artist I have to cut it, so and so. And I'm like, whoa, like this one guy that discovered Rihanna called me and
Wow.
was like, this song's great, man. Like, who are you? What's the deal? What's the story? I was like,
Yeah.
I'm a band and I love, but I've just learned about songwriting like outside of my band and I'm trying to do it more. And it was just funny because at the time, like Runner Runner was kind of like our album wasn't really selling. We had some
Yeah.
issues with the label. Like our team was a bit like fault, things were kind of like falling, it seemed, but my
Yeah.
phone's lighting up about songs I'm
I
writing.
see.
In my
Yeah.
head, I'm like, between the Nashville trip and this, I'm just like ding, ding, ding. I was like, I want
Yeah.
to do this. Like, I don't want to be in a band on tour, like getting yelled at by our A&R about a bunch of shit. Like, I want to
Yeah.
be writing songs and getting calls from A&Rs. Like, we're gonna
Yeah.
release a song and go to radio with it. Like, I was like, this is what I want to do.
Yeah.
So that
Yeah.
song really like opened the door of like possibilities. Then I started like following different like producers and songwriters on Twitter, and one of them was like, "I'm looking for some songwriters for my studio to like bring me ideas." And it was this amazing producer who had some hit songs. So I responded to him, sent him some things, and he was like, "Start coming up to Hollywood." So I started going up there every day for like a year, and that was kind of like the beginning. And I got my first cut with Flo Rida and Austin Mahone
Wow.
through that.
How did that feel?
It was sick, man. I mean, as the music industry story goes, like it was kind of it was exciting, but I also got like kind of burned on the business side there. But it was the beginning, so I didn't care, and I
Sure.
was learning as I went. And that song led to another song with Big Time Rush, which led to another song with Emblem 3, which was really popular at the time. And then Dr. Luke heard that song, and I was the only writer that got on the Emblem because the Emblem 3 was on like I forget, not The Voice, but like American Idol or something. But they
Oh
were working,
yeah, one of those shows. Yeah.
they were working with like Max Martin and like all these heavy hitters. I was the only unsigned writer to get a cut on their album. Everyone else was like big, you know what I mean? Like Max Martin type people.
Yeah.
So Dr. Luke heard that song, was like, who's this that did this that's unsigned? Like, I want to sign them. And I was like, that was me. And then yeah, it was in Ryan from Runner Runner was also in the mix with that. So he's actually doing what I do now as
Yeah.
well.
Yeah. I keep an eye on his credits as well. It looks like he's done
Yeah,
well
so
for
like we
himself in
kind
this
of
world as
both
well.
caught the bug and kind of started doing this, and the other guys, everyone kind of started like doing their own thing. But it's wild, man.
Yeah.
It's been like quite the journey. But again, it's like a creative blur, you know? Like I said, songs are like dreams. I'm like, was that last night or years ago?
Yeah. It's crazy, man. I could talk to you for hours, but I'm conscious that we have been going nearly an hour, so I won't keep too much more of your time because I'm sure you've got a busy weekend ahead. So there's just a couple more questions I want to ask, and then I'll let you go if that's cool.
Absolutely.
If I was curious if you were to start a brand new band now, given like all the different genres you've worked in on the past few years, what sort of sound would you go for if you were starting a
Wow.
new project now?
Great question. I really don't know. I love this band Good Neighbors from UK. Have you heard them?
I'm not sure I have.
They're
Good
incredible. They're
neighbors.
kind of like indie, maybe like Bleachers
Oh,
meets,
okay, yeah, yeah. I like the sound of
I
that.
don't know, maybe something more on the indie side, or I don't know, to be honest. My dad raised me on British invasion music, the Kinks, the Yardbirds,
Yeah,
all that good stuff. I might try something like that, man. Like imagine a new version of the Kinks that was a little more like hybrid sound. It's like British invasion rock, but maybe you bring in some indie or even like alternative punk influences. Something like the Kinks would be cool.
yeah,
I don't know. Or like I love the Cranberries. Like I don't know, something I don't know.
yeah,
I don't know if I would make like a punk rock band necessarily. I think it would be
yeah.
a little more a combination of all my influences, you know.
Who are some artists that you haven't written with or written for who are kind of on your bucket list? Well, I know you did mention Tim McGrath before, but like who are some
Bucket
other ones
list.
you've
I mean, I would love to write with Ed Sheeran sometime. I mean, Youngblood would be sick.
Do you know if you I assume you know Andrew Goldstein, do you? You kind of come
Yeah.
across because it's because I noticed that Perry
When he
Edwards
wrote a song with a girl that Ed Sheeran. Yeah, I think he might have
yeah.
came in. I don't know if he got in with the studio with Ed.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay, but I noticed they're credited on the same song.
I know Goldstein very well.
Yeah,
Yeah, he was actually on that Blink song too.
yeah, yeah. I did notice that. Yeah,
Because I was trying to get on the Blink album. I had taken swings. Like I still send things to Travis as well.
yeah,
Um, because he had put me on the MGK record and a
yeah.
Jaden.
Right. Yeah, I saw you had a credit on that.
So I'm still sending songs to Travis.
Yeah,
But all I've been trying to work on some stuff with All Day to get on the Blink project. But yeah,
yeah,
I mean, more stuff with Travis Barker obviously is great. I mean, getting a song with Blink would be an amazing full circle. I hear they're doing a deluxe, so I've been like sending things for that, but we'll see.
Oh,
Where's some
fingers crossed for you, Nick.
bucket list cuts, man? Um, I mean, Katy Perry's working on her new album with Dr. Luke. I'm like trying to get on there. I have a song on there hanging by a thread. I don't know what's gonna happen. So
Really?
yeah, this game can be very like one person described the songwriter game as you're hanging on for dear life on the 99th floor outside the window of a Vaseline tower in the middle of a hurricane as lightning is striking the tower.
Yeah.
Wait, I was like, man, when I was talking with Derek, we were talking about punk bands, and I was like, I want to see if I can remember all these cool labels that I used to listen to and love. And I was like, let me see if I can go back and shout out all the punk labels when I was a kid that I listened to and loved.
Yeah, that sounds fun.
Fat Records,
Yeah,
Epitaph Records, Fearless Records, Hopeless Records, SST Records, Burning Heart Records in Sweden
in
that had
Sweden. Yeah,
Dylan Colin and stuff.
yeah,
Discord Records, Tooth and Nail Records, Fuel by Ramen, BYO. They had like Youth Brigade and some like more like
yeah.
punk stuff. Red Eye Records. They had Unwritten Law and Pivot. Lookout, old Green Day's old label.
Yeah.
GFY, which was Tom from Bigwig's label that had like Autopilot Off before they were Autopilot Off. What else is there? Oh man,
Well,
Lobster Records.
Lobster, obviously. What about Asian Man?
Asian Man, that's right. I forgot about it. Suburban Home Records, um, Negative Progression. Man, I think that might be all I got.
Yeah, because I guess there's drive through, but that came a
Oh
little
yeah,
bit
Drive
later.
Through. They're incredible. How
Yeah.
can I that Drive Through's a big one.
Speaking of drive through, did you see on the Taylor Swift record yesterday? She name checks the starting line and one of the
That's
choruses.
crazy. That's
It's
crazy.
so crazy. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, did see that. That's awesome.
Yeah, that was a really cool moment. Let me finish this by just asking like a very generic question, but in terms of, I guess this follows on nicely from record labels growing up. But if you could take like 3 or 4 records to a desert island, what would they be?
3 or 4 records for a desert island. Tom Petty, Full Moon Fever, Patsy Cline, Greatest Hits, um, The Kinks, Greatest Hits, and then it's funny. You listen to all the punk rock stuff. I loved everything growing up. Not
Yeah.
all of it hits the same now, but some
Yeah.
stuff randomly still gives me a good feeling.
Yeah.
I'm gonna say Good Riddance, a
Oh,
comprehensive
yeah.
guide to modern rebellion. For some reason, that record still like puts me in the feels. Not
It's an
everything
interesting
does
choice.
anymore, but that one does. Um, yeah, I would say that would be my Tom Petty, Patsy Cline, The Kinks, and Good Riddance.
Lovely. I love that mix there. Nick, I reckon we could probably wrap things up there because I've kept you for over an hour, which I
Appreciate you, man.
massively, yeah, really appreciate you giving me the time. It's been really sick to talk to
You
you.
you know Sitcom Soldiers by chance? They're video production. They're out there in Brighton, not Brighton, Bolton, north of the city, I guess.
So, yeah, I've heard of them. Yeah.
Ben, the guy that runs his name is Ben. He's a good friend. He came and did merch with Over It a couple times, like back in the day.
Oh, yeah. So I don't know him, but I know his friend Ollie who did
Yes,
merch.
Ollie. Yeah. So
Oh, yeah.
So Ben was with us when we filmed our very first version of Siren on the 101 video, and the guy that filmed it had a red camera when they first came out, and he told Ben, he was like, "Get a red camera because if you do it now, you'll be one of the first, and they're brand new and like high quality, and you could really hit the ground running if you're interested in video stuff." So Ben went back to England, got the red camera, and started Sitcom Soldiers, which was from an Over It lyric. And it's now like this blown up like UK film and production company that he's got like a warehouse and does all kinds of high end stuff. And it's incredible to see what he's
Yeah.
built. He's
Yeah.
done a bunch of like the Feeder records. I don't know if you know, or videos, Feeder.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, big band over here.
I mean, I think he's done like he's done like American Express commercials and stuff now. So he's like pretty big, but it's just cool to see what he's built. He's out there in the
Yeah.
UK. And he was like an OG, like Over It
That's
home.
awesome. Yeah.
So yeah, it's just the world, like the things that have come from the worlds that we were in. It's just cool to see. But
Absolutely. Absolutely.
thanks for hitting me up, man. Happy to be here. Yeah,
Of course. Of course, man. Stay in touch.
absolutely, bro. Absolutely. Hit me anytime.
Okay.
Be here working on songs.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Nick.